Hey all, it's the second episode of SchezzWho, and it's going to be great. I saw a local teacher in the news who did something really cool in science, and I wanted to reach out to Lisa Carlson to have her on. Quick shout out to those who make this show possible. First off, of course, my wife Andrea, who is the brainchild behind this. If anything great comes from this show from now and in the future, just know that it started right there with her. She made the channel and suggested the idea of a solo Conrad show. So I also want to say hey to mom and dad. Thank you too. Remember, if you're looking for a car in the Hampton Roads area, a quality used one, head over to Southern Volkswagen in Chesapeake. Speak with Charlie Roy, develop the connection with a quality car, and drive off with something special. You'll get it with Charlie Roy over at Southern Greenbrier Volkswagen. All right, now before I bring on Lisa, I want to touch on some things. So, thusly, the following commentary is my own and not Lisa's. This show is simulcast on my Conrad Schesventer for Virginia page, my personal Facebook page, the Beach Brothers show pages, and the Community Action Team pages. These organizations have their political touch, and I feel this day is an important one to talk about some important political threads. These threads are wide ranging to gun availability in this country and an ever present dislike of people based on race and gender identities. First, there's the pride flag shooter in California who saw a pride flag in a shop, argued with the owner using multiple anti gay slurs, then shot the owner dead, a 66-year-old mother of 9. He was 27 and later shot to death in a shootout with police. And since the authorities have been digging at his social media history, and they found many posts that were anti pride flag, anti gay, anti abortion, and it was sort of wrapped in with a Christian bend in bashing everyone else's lifestyle with an aggressive call to stop the other parts, which he, armed with a gun, tried to do. Then we have yesterday, which to me began with the anticipation of a great Daytona night race. And as I waited, I watched MSNBC, and they had mentioned a Republican presidential hopeful by the name of Vivek Ramaswamy, who had called Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and author Ibram Kendi grand wizards of the modern KKK. His premise hinged on speakers calling for anti racist activity being themselves racist by doing so. And that's why he used Grand Wizards of the KKK to add more color to his critique. This is leading, you could say it's a leading Republican voice, one who I've even reached out to via email to try to get on this show because I see he has been trending up. And like many Republican Party, he dabbles in rhetoric which is deliberately harmful to the cause of ending racial injustice and does so to get one segment of the population to vote for him, seemingly conservatives only. The ones who respond in an emotionally supportive way to both anti LGBTQ and anti racial justice language and end up supporting things like eliminating the study of Black history in Florida under the activist leadership on the cause from the governor, another leading Republican voice in Ron DeSantis. And again, that highlights yesterday's Jacksonville shooting. See, another young man, 21 this time, walked into a Dollar General. He had on a tactical vest. He had a handgun and a rifle. On his rifle, he scribbled on swastikas. He happened to be a registered Republican. He deliberately shot 3 black people at the store, then himself. He was yelling his intent and made plenty of manifestos of his anti black mentality online. Is this terrorism? Yes, terrorism, with the message being anti black. This isn't to say it's a problem with mental health. I'm not believing that these men were completely sane. But that's not what paved the road these men mentally walked on. That was their echo chamber of consistent, day after day, racism and anti gay bigotry. It was their mental habits that were a problem, not their mental health. Sure, Ron DeSantis called the shooter a scumbag, but his state tried to eliminate CRT study, racial equity study, tried to say it was bad to fight for racial justice, and we're supposed to be shocked a young man who feeds himself these lines every day decided to use the great gun accessibility freedom that we have in this country and deliberately shoot people with those motives. But I'm just Conrad Schesventer. I happen to be a white dude, and I feel it's important for more people like me to call that out. But whew, that's my soapbox for today. Time to discuss some public education and science and how it can positively influence our young ones. So let's bring on Lisa Carlson. Right now, it's the Sunday right before the first day of school, if I have this right. How are you feeling right now?
Yes, sir. Correct. Certainly a little nervous, a little anxious. I'm moving into a new grade. So I've taught third, fourth, and fifth grade for 5 years. And this year I was moved from fourth grade to second grade. So it's a new curriculum. But I'm all excited because my second grade teacher was the one who inspired first to be a teacher. And other teachers that inspired me, especially with science and to AP biology in high school. Just I always enjoy the influence of teachers, and so I'm excited to hopefully influence the next generation and second graders.
That's what I like to hear. It just sounds so optimistic, the idea of being able to positively influence people. And we're going to touch on that. For instance, I hear that you're a teacher at Glenwood Elementary School, and anecdotally,
Yes.
I went there in the 1990s. So tell me a little bit about your experiences to this point at Glenwood.
Sure. This is my second year working at Glenwood Elementary. So last year I was teaching fourth grade. It's really teaching second grade. And school of about 150 teachers and other staff, including the office staff, custodians, lunch workers, bus workers, and it has 1,000 students. So it is a very large school, largest elementary school in the city, and it's the largest elementary school in the entire state. So it was overwhelming at first, but I can only imagine that it was overwhelming for the students as well, especially the little ones that are coming in. But this past year just had so much school spirit and so much support, and every time I was there, people were just happy and smiling, and the parents were excited to be there. So it just I've had such a great experience there so far, and I can't wait to start my second year.
If I recall that you mentioned that, or you may not have mentioned that you are a previous fourth grade teacher and now a second grade teacher. I think we might be able to touch on that a little bit about how that transition came to be. But I also want to mention that I work with the out of school time childcare program through Virginia Beach Parks and Rec. And I know that they have a program at Glenwood as well. I think it's a good service, and we try a few hours each day of great recreation and learning for them, especially with STEM activities. And this swings back to you, and the reason why I wanted to have you on. Tell us about your recent trip with NOAA, which made the news.
Thank you. So this was a trip that was 5.5 years in the making, and based on opportunity for teachers pre-K through college and anyone in between across the entire country. And actually, we just had a teacher from Puerto Rico go out last year. But basically, teachers of any grade level can apply to work on a NOAA ship, which is a government ship. It's one of the uniformed services of the U.S. And so I was able to be out there for 2 weeks working with scientists and researchers and bringing that back into the classroom. And usually about 250 to 300 teachers apply per year, and only about 30 are selected. So I applied in 2017, 2018, 2019, finally got accepted in 2019, and it all happened in 2020. So I was postponed until this summer, 2020, and I went on to California for 2 weeks on board the Bell, which is a 208-foot freeze vessel through, and it was a blast. Can't wait to share.
Let me unmute my mic here. So it was a blast. It was 2 weeks. I believe you said the ship was like over 200 feet. Can you just tell us a little about what you were able to see? What were type of things that you were studying? What was the overall goal of the NOAA trip that specific time, so on and so forth? Maybe a little bit about the program too that brought you out to it.
Sure. So there are 3 different serve that NOAA or 3 groups of ships that NOAA can put teachers on board. So I was on board a fisheries vessel. They also have graphic and oceanographic survey vessels. So that those are a little bit more technical, but the one I was on was, again, a fisheries vessel. So we were studying Pacific hake off the coast of California and Oregon. So Pacific hake is also known as big whiting, and it's really just a simple white fish that can be used in imitation crab, fish sticks, can be eaten on its own as well, but it's the largest group of fish that is for commercially the Pacific coast. So what no scientists do is odd number year, they survey through these transects, they're called, which are longitudinal lines going east to west, but starts at the southern base of California, moves north. And so they're just seeing the migratory patterns of the hake, and then we collected surveys of the fish, and from there collected a random survey from those 1,000 or so fish usually, and from that small sample, then we would determine their gender, their length, their weight, their age can be determined as what through using the oath bones, which are ear bones. So just collect a lot of information of the young hake are, where the older hake are, where they're migrating, how weather patterns, definitely like warming oceans and El Nino. The summer could change where they're found, so it just helps build a database of where the fish usually will be and be sure that the fishing is sustainable.
It's pretty cool, especially with it being out 2 weeks. I'm reminded of, I think it was the first year or two, I went to Old Dominion University in the late 2000s, and there is a NOAA facility in Norfolk, near where PETA's at, if I recall. And I went out on one of their ships. It was a rainyish, drizzly day, but that was the only time I've ever been out in a situation like that where I was on a vessel that was scientifically based. And I thought it was fun. Just, it's hard to imagine doing that for maybe an hour and a half versus 2+ consecutive weeks. What were there any findings or anything that you were able to bring back from that was of note, or was it like, yeah, we sort of thought that there would be that many traits that these particular fish did, or something like that? What did you learn?
So there was overall no big surprise that the scientists noticed. But again, just comparing it to data, will still be many in the process because they're surveying through September. So they do 6 to each. So they're doing 12 weeks. So they are expecting to see a difference from the El Nino effect and warming waters. But overall, the acoustic lab, which is where it all really starts to find the fish, using basically an echo sounder, and creating echograms to visualize what is below the hull of the ship, and determine is the school of hake, hopefully. And most of the time, it was majority hake. I'd say probably 9% hake in our surveys. We did some interesting catches as well. We caught several fish, sharks, all about a foot long. So once we sorted those out, they got dumped aside, so that they could move on with their day. And we also caught a few giant squid tentacles. We're not sure at first if it was a Humboldt squid or a giant squid, but from DNA from the squid tentacles, we were able to determine later that it was actually a giant squid, and the tentacles were 15 feet long. So that was definitely a very cool find.
That's worth the price of admission itself, just finding a giant squid.
And just seeing sharks too, and so much marine life around new dolphins that I'd never seen before. The white-sided dolphins. We also caught a lot of, collected in the net a lot of pyrosomes, and so they're basically a cylindrical organism that just feeds on whatever goes through the body, kind of how whales and blue sharks just swim along, whatever comes into their mouth is what they eat. So that was interesting to learn from, too, just how many things there are in the ocean and that I've never seen before and people still don't know about. So that's helpful in my own research of, wow, like a new creature I've never heard of. So I learned a lot about actual, physical creatures that I was able to see and observe.
That sounds pretty cool to me. Very scientific. It's like a steady diet of stuff that would help a scientific mind want to grow. Is being out there in the Pacific, learning as much stuff as you can. I'm curious. Is this something that you actively sought like an approval from the division or anything like that, or is it independent from all of that?
So it was already independent. I learned about the Teacher at Sea program from a colleague of mine for my first year working at a chess school, and he said, "Well, Lisa, I know boats and you sail. Why don't you do this?" So that's how I first learned about it, was just word of mouth, just like this, and it requires a recommendation from your administrative staff. But other than that, it's essays, just some experience, kind of my experience of how long you've been teaching. Do you have any sailing experience? Which I do. I've been volunteering and working on boats and ships since I was 8 years old. So it's about 22 years that I'm on vessels. So that definitely helped me feel more calm about the experience. But overall, you don't get any special permission. You just get your administrative staff gives you a good review, and then that are one of the 9 teachers that were elected for 2023, and because only about 10% of teachers are admitted, and sometimes you just have to be patient for 5.5 years even.
I was able to catch this story from the wind of the Virginian pilot writing about it. I also saw that Yahoo News, via the pilot, put it up there too. I'm like, okay, this is cool. It's gaining traction. Were you tasked with any like requisite to post this on social media or anything to gain more attention for it? Or maybe that was an afterwards thing and they would have been like, hey, that was cool. Could you share more of it? Type of situation.
So it's not required to anything on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or anything that are requests are just to gain all this and then share it with your colleagues. And so I had the opportunity to have new news releases put out. It wasn't required, but I'm glad I did, because the Virginia pilot post on Facebook has, I believe it's right about 5,000 likes and reactions now. And then that's how you found me, and now I'll talk to other people about it. So we didn't have, besides blogs, so I do have a blog site, and I'm sure you could link it or we could as well. But just blogs, 2 to 4 blogs a week. So that was my experience, but that was through Teacher at Sea website. It wasn't through Facebook. I personally chose to post photos and my blog links on my own personal Facebook because I wanted to share it, but there's no overall requirement to do that.
Let me unmute my mic. I'm going to see if I can open another tab here and get one of those links on the screen here real quick. Probably the one of the blog. Do copy link address. All right. Post this under comments. All right, and now let me get one posted up on the screen from a SchezzWho. Well, it'll be more of the link to it. So I imagine people seeing this could be able to copy and paste. I did try to get the photo of the placard that I could bring up here, but somehow wasn't saving the way I wanted to. So I won't be able to put that one up on the screen, but I'll keep this one up here for a little bit.
Thank you for putting up about, I didn't count recently, but 6 or 7 posts so far, and I still another to upload later of home for over a month. What else have I learned it? But the one that comes up, which is my most recent, it's in chronological order. I loved the title of it. It's a quote from of Bella Amata, who passed, was in his 30s. He was a scientist that really helped lead a lot of these history expeditions and learn a lot from it. And so he was named posthumously for the vessel, and the wife said as a quote, "No life is too short, no career too brief, no contribution too small." And I thought that was a great quote, just because even though I was there for 15 days, I made a contribution, and bring it back and share with people.
I'm also curious if this particular um, program, I think Teachers at Sea, if that's what it was called again, I'm blanking for some
Yes,
reason. But did
that's okay.
you do this with assistance to find out its existence, or were you able to do your own research to find it, to apply for it, all of that?
Sure. Yeah, just learned about it through a colleague, and then did my own research of reading through blogs, and just learning from so many other past teachers that have gone to me, and from Mr. Salmons Johnson's, who was in New England, on a vessel in believe 2005 2007, and he still wants to shout it. So he was helpful in giving me links, and then I was able to reach out to Emily Susko and Jennifer Hammond with NOAA teaching, and they gave me more information as needed. And so it was a lot of support from them, definitely, and just reading about it, and like a teacher having to read and do research as well.
Let's see here. Now, what might you be able to bring from your experience to the children at Glenwood and in the science-based programs for them that might be able to copy some of the methods or show them some of your findings? What might you be able to bring from that to Glenwood?
So my mom helped me make a trifold board. Hi, Mom and Dad. I know you're watching it now. She helped make a trifold board of some of my photos that I took. I brought my nice big DSLR camera, and wanted to document as much as I could. So she helped put photos on the board, and a copy of my most recent blog, the one that I quoted. And so I have that cool. A lot of things have already come and looked at it, and the students on when it was meet and greet were able to see it well. And so I'm looking forward to share the pictures and stories with the students. Probably not today, because we'll all be just eager to make sure they get lunch and get home safe. But I already had the idea of for second graders, since they wouldn't necessarily understand environmental DNA and acoustics and things like that as easily as perhaps middle school or high school students, of just taking a collection of whether paper or wood or foam, fish, where some are red or blue or big or small, or some are a shark, squid, tentacle, and just have a collection and kind of put them on a table and say, what do you notice? Yes, charge. Now you need something first. Observing, how would you sort these? Would you sort them by, oh, this one's a boy, this one's a girl? Would you sort them by size, by type? And then even with the acoustic data, which the echograms come as just live data of the surface, and then like the depth and the topography, could still show a picture of that to the students and make a graph. Let's make a bar graph together of how many times were we in over 300 meters of water. What was the deepest we ever got to, which was, I believe, around 2,000 meters, which is about 6,000. It's over a mile. And just kind of let the kids do their thing too, and lead any experiments, especially like you were mentioning, the STEM and STEAM programs, of trying to be more student-led first, of what are you observing, because they might observe something that I never even thought about, because a 7-year-old's mind versus an adult mind definitely notices different things. And the more I think about it and talk to other people, I'm getting more ideas, and just saying, like, well, on the ship, I saw different animals. What were the different animals? Or I have to apply for NOAA. What's something that you apply for in school or sports? how are these activities that I relevant to even a child's life of supporting others, listening to galley staff, listening to your cafeteria monitors, just seeing that even as an adult, all of the like social emotional learning and manners and behaviors that I'm hoping to teach you, they're relevant to me and were relevant to me on the ship, because there's still a chain of command. There's still rules, whether you're an adult or a child. So I think things like that is not just the science part, but also integrating math, and engineering. Say, all right, here's supply a net. You can make a net that holds the most fish. So I still have so many ideas that pop in my head, and talking to people helps me make more ideas and questions. And even if I give a project and it doesn't work out, sometimes there were days we didn't catch fish, and sometimes things just don't work out. We had some days where it was rainy, or we had 15-foot swells, and it just wasn't safe for us to be able to research on deck that day. But we still were able to do things inside of big data and DNA research.
So it all worked out, and it sounds like you've already been able to process the ways with which you would like to bring this to the students, which reminds me that I've also heard that you've gotten some pretty good reviews about your method of teaching. And if you could just break down a little bit, what is your method, if you could describe it in a way that is a method, or just what is natural to you about teaching? What have you found successful at making kids learn and have fun at the same time?
Sure. So like I mentioned earlier, the start was moved from 4th grade to the 2nd grade, and I remember speaking to my principal then, and I was just like, what? I've taught 2nd grade. I've taught 3rd and 5th. You know why? But I mean, all happens for a reason. But I just be honest and truthful with the students, and I like to be conversational with them, just like this of, hey guys, what are you noticing? Or, having secret handshakes and just making it fun, and that they want to be there and want to go back to school. And I have a story that share in all my interviews and with parents, because I already parents commenting on the Virginia pilot, that Ms. Carlson was my teacher for 2 years in Chesapeake, or so excited my grandson has her this year. But it's a story. My first full year, I was teaching third grade, and this boy, his science teacher, apparently really sad, frustrated notes every day home, or almost every day, to mom of, he can't sit still, he's being an annoyance, which I don't know how you can write things like that about the kids. So it took a while to connect with him. But by the end of the year, mom gave me a charm that I wear on my badge at work, and a letter that said, "You changed this boy's life." See, I'm gonna tear up about it. That he was so excited to wake and come to school every day. And when can I see Carlson? When can I go back to school? And he visited the next year in 4th grade, and then for me, it was during the virtual year that was in 5th grade. So when that March 13th came, said, "Oh, I won't get to watch that." So that boy walked down the hallway on the last day of school, and all of them are crying, and we're all laughing and or not laughing, I'm sorry, clapping, giving them hugs. And so I just try to connect with the students of, I care about you. I'm glad you're here, because if you're hungry, if you feel unsafe, if you don't feel loved, you can't learn anything from. So just be welcoming, and it helps too, because they know this is how you talk, and try to be pretty up and bubbly. I have flexible seating and soft lights. I like music. They can lay on the floor with the clip. As long as you get your work done, I don't really care if you want to sit sit on the floor or things like that. But then it works out, because then if I say sit down or something like that, of all of a sudden they notice, oh, Ms. Carlson has a different tone right now, and that goes along to a social emotional learning of cues, social cues, and then they're like, okay, that means we need to regroup and see what she needs. And in times that I get laryngitis every fall, I've had students before say, "Hey, shout out, Miss Carlson's trying to say something." And I told that boy who was teaching 5th grade, I said, "I don't love word choice, but thank you for speaking loud enough for me." So I'm just it's helped so much of just being honest, loving the kids, because then they'll respect you back.
I found similar anecdotes over my year of out of school time that they get to know you pretty well just after a few days, and then you have to become a few weeks, and it becomes months, and then they treat you like respectful, friendly human beings, and you treat them back as respectful
Mhm.
human beings. And yeah, there are going to be times with elementary school kids, they keeping their attention is going to be a little difficult. And yeah, the tone of voice might change
Yes.
briefly, but they will then redirect, and they'll be able to listen to you. And the key is to just make sure that they're all having fun. And some are more difficult to try to reach, but it's just as rewarding to get them to have a great day. So, and that's just with the out of school time program. I noticed you experience that a lot more
Mhm.
as an actual teacher, day in, day out, which it's a great rewarding mental job. I would contend. I did also figure out a way to save an image from, I believe, the blog right here
Yes.
of
Yes. There's
the
my the chalkboard.
exactly. It's some very nice image. I think you said of dolphins you hadn't seen before. The types
Yes.
of fish, representations of portholes I see. It's pretty cool. It looks like a science project.
Thanks. Yeah, definitely a shout out to my mom and dad for helping create all those, uh, just put together all those images. And yes, a lot of them are in my blogs. And then on the right side, there's the animals. Also have a Spanish translation because this is my second being an ESL inclusion teacher. And I've loved learning from those students as well as them sign language. Sometimes they teach me words in their native language, and I always learn something new every day. Excuse me. That they honestly teach me more than I teach them some days, because they're just so excited about the topic, and that they want to share their connections to it.
Now, I'm also curious. Have you only been a teacher in Virginia Beach?
No, so I taught for a year in Chesapeake, and then took a break coincidentally with the with the pandemic, and just needed to step back. There are jobs that get exhausting, and even though they're so rewarding, it can be a very exhausting job. And so I during that year and a half or so, I worked at Marine, which is a maritime supply store, and then I also worked on a yacht, 80-foot yacht, down in Indo. So continued working on boats and with maritime racing and things like that. But then even though that is so much fun and I love being out on the water, then I thought, I miss the kids. I miss, learning from them and their hugs and their smiles, their excitement to be at school. So not every day is the easiest. Some days you're sick, some days you get stressed out. You have other stressors in your life. And coming back to teaching, and that's how I got into Virginia Beach schools. I'm so glad that I came back.
Now, would you say that there are more advantages to your goal of being maritime-based science in Virginia Beach because you're on the ocean and there's a lot of riverways and stuff too? I know there are a lot of waterways in Chesapeake as well, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Suffolk. We all got our accesses to the water, but I wonder if there is more positive ways to enjoy the science of the ocean and the local streams and rivers in Virginia Beach compared to, say, Chesapeake or Norfolk.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that there are less opportunities, different opportunities. When I was in Chesapeake, uh, we went to a planetarium there. Planetarium there is different than the planetarium in Virginia Beach. So there are differences, of course. When I was going to school at Old Dominion University, that's why I moved down here from Northern Virginia. I worked on tour boats in Norfolk, the American Rover and the Victory Rover. If any of you have seen those vessels, and the Atlantic Explorer was a dolphin whale watching boat out of the Virginia Aquarium in Virginia Beach. We would go by that exact NOAA location you're talking about with the Thomas Jefferson, and there's another, but it's escaping me right now. But that way, I already knew a little about NOAA. They had this opportunity until I heard from a colleague. But then even at Nauticus, they have sailing instructions for the sailing instruction. I'm sorry, and summer camps for the students, and of course the museum. And some schools go to the aquarium, but they can come from Chesapeake or Norfolk, different areas in Hampton Roads. But I'd like to have more opportunities to perhaps have mad science program back at the school, or if people come from Nauticus or barge or the aquarium, and even in-house field trips, just share more about the ecosystem that Hampton Roads and how all of the rivers work together, and the watershed, which is a lot. We talk about that a lot in elementary school as well, of ecosystem and watersheds. So there are definitely a lot of connections here, but they're also, I'm lucky that I'm in Hampton Roads and near the ocean and near the water, but there are teachers that come from, the West or a landlocked state or the mountains, and have as many opportunities as here. So those would be ideas for them of in field trips, or connecting possibly virtually with aquariums, places like Nauticus, even talking with people from NOAA or the NOAA Corps officers. So I hope there's a lot of opportunity that other teachers across the country take as well. But I am glad and feel lucky to have this many opportunities to work with the water and show the kids that. But then also, so you have to remember, some, even though I'm from the ocean, there are kids that have never seen the ocean. They've never touched sand in a sandbox. So that's good and bad to be near so much water, but there are also some kids that don't have that opportunity. So I hope that the program teacher at sea and what I learn can be shared with other teachers and other schools, and just have the word spread to those students that don't have those same opportunities.
And you are correct about this area being so unique in that facet. I'm reminded, I had a little discussion earlier this week on social media about the differences in sea level rises that we've been able to measure since the late 1800s. And I saw some sort of comment that it was about an 8 to 9 inch difference since the late 1800s. But at Sewell's Point in Norfolk, it was more closer to 14. So what would it be that? It's because this area actually has a level of subsidence. It is sinking almost as significantly as the sea could be rising. And that is something that's going to be unique to Hampton Roads when we have a discussion on that situation. And
yes, certainly. I remember at ODU, the campus was often flooded, even if it wasn't a hurricane. Water tables are definitely rising, and it's noticeable when you're right on the water, which is something to learn from and tell the students about it all.
And I also appreciate that that you mentioned that this the picture that we had was helped set up by your parents, and they help you a lot in this thing. And that's why I want to throw this quote up here by my dad. What's the address of where you would find the blog? I'd enjoy reading. So I will throw that up here again, and you'll be able to read that blog from time to time. I take it that how often might you update a new thing to your blog?
There will probably be one or two more posts. I do have a few more interviews that I had with crew members whether it was the officers or the galley crew, department engine. So I have it for interviews that I want to post, and then eventually we'll post my experience in the classroom with shares with the students and experiments they come up with and try, and results from that. So hopefully 2 more at least in the next month or 2. But it's always open to me. I can always add more as long as I let the NOAA teacher at crew know that I would like to post something. And there are posts from all the previous teachers at the teachers at alumni that have been there for years. I believe one of the earliest blogs there is around 2000 or 2002, and then a worker from 2005. So they'll always be there, and you can add more things. But it's pretty complete so far, and I want to break the blogs in just about the acoustics data, just about the lab where we did actual dissections, the eDNA lab, or the chem lab we called it, and then also incorporate options of interviewing the crew and teaching students and other teachers and the public about this opportunity and NOAA careers as well, that there are careers NOAA and careers working on both in different vessels. So hopefully there's something for all ages to learn from, especially schoolers that are trade schools, or military, or possibly NOAA, or maybe they learn something from my blog and say, "Wow, that's cool. It's cool. Learn more about DNA or biology." And so hopefully it's just something that everyone can learn.
And I think that develops a greater ability to work interconnectedly. And by that, I mean you might have a better ability to network now with NOAA scientists. And I'm reminded there were a couple of times during this summer break camp at Parks and Rec OST where we had in people who were guests who wanted to teach kids things. One of them was a mad science thing. So I'm thought again about your mad science program that you work on. Is there a way perhaps to bring in more NOAA people to the school just to speak to the kids?
I hope that could be an opportunity, especially with the NOAA headquarters for the East Coast. I'm sorry, I believe the headquarters actually is in New England, but one of the NOAA buildings is in Norfolk. So that was something I could reach out to, or other schools could reach out to, and see if there is a program like that where people from NOAA or other ocean maritime careers could come and visit. I personally don't know off the top of my head if that's an option or not, but I'm also excited for the opportunity that I might to go back to see an alumni in 2 or 3 if they have openings again, and even if I don't go as a teacher at sea, there are volunteer opportunities all the time that I was reading about, that as long as you know what you're getting yourself into for 2 weeks or sometimes 3 weeks, there are opportunities for people to work with NOAA on vessels or perhaps the vessels at the NOAA buildings.
And I'm thinking, as you were just describing that I am thinking back to childhood-based memories, like when I was in elementary school and stuff that I still remember from now at my age. One of them was going to visit one of the Coast Guard ships in Portsmouth. I believe that was on a field trip, and based on my memory, and also going to the old Coast Guard station at the Virginia Beach oceanfront. And I wonder if through efforts like yourself, could you help orient a class or maybe several classes to go on field trips to something like NOAA? That way, if they don't come to you, you could go to them, and the kids would be just as able to immerse themselves in this learning.
I'll definitely want to look into it, or even if they can't go into the buildings or on the ships, based on if they're commissioned or in disrepair. Because there was one vessel came into Oregon that is an old vessel; it's no longer used, so that wouldn't be, of course, a safe option for students to go on. But having in-house field trips of virtual discussions like this could definitely be a possibility and opportunity. And I know there have been some schools that go to the old Coast Guard station that you're talking about on the ocean front. So just more research still. But yeah, I definitely hope that could be an opportunity one day.
Now, I'm also curious if there are other subjects you think you might be interested in teaching that isn't so much science, or perhaps you already have, say, an ability to dabble in social sciences or English or math, or are you more specific when it comes to teaching in elementary school?
So school overall is based in Virginia Beach, and at Glenwood, we teach all the subjects. So math, reading, writing, science, social studies, social emotional learning. Try to incorporate that in, and we are the homeroom teacher where we are the one all day teaching those topics into fourth grade or middle school, or switching classes. So I do have an interest in special ed or school psychology. Eventually, I do like a lot of the development and growth, both physically, emotionally, mentally, socially, of students. So I think one day I'd like to get into working closer with guidance counselors and special ed classes and opportunities. But science truly is my favorite subject. I've thought before, perhaps one day I would teach middle school science. The only thing is, all these would be a good footballer than me. But that also back to just being a good teacher and good rapport, and a relationship with the students. Which one of the reasons my principal told me moving me to second grade, I have a good classroom management style rapport with the sense of just being a safe place for kids to feel loved and appreciated. So science is still up there for sure, but special ed and psychology, which is all science, is on my radar for a possibility one day.
That sounds very intriguing. But I'll admit, for right now, in the snapshot of our lives right now, that I think you're a great person and a great teacher. And I applaud your scientific goals on a personal level. And thank you for making it digestible for growing minds. So, what might be some final thoughts that you might have or want to pass on to us today as we get ready to start another school year?
Oh boy, so many different things put in only a sentence, but I think just I don't know, there's so many things. Just incorporating all of the parts of science that I've learned from this opportunity with the students, and having the discussion of even learning this one thing now. There's data for years and years that in our case for the fisheries that they'll compare to. So it doesn't just stop because you move from multiple to now learning about dividend, for example. There's it all connects. So I say just still learn something new every day. I think learn something new every day is would be my biggest thing that I try to do every day myself, and also just be kind to others. Like kindness is everything. So and thank you for the compliment of making it digestible, because when even my parents were like, these blog posts, and some colleagues and friends are like what is this? Like, there's so much and I admitted to a colleague, I still don't know everything that I observed, because going back to my blog posts and to my photos and learning from it myself, and doing more research through the NOAA websites. They have, it's such a amount of information that the NOAA websites have, and even blogs from other teachers. So learn something new every day, and kind of.
So, yeah, I would say that much like these blog posts, we can get very specific on the very thing that we suddenly found ourselves curious about, and we can dive in real deep about one particular thing. But to make it digestible, it's like we pull back a little bit. Like, we're not focusing on the pixel of the image, but the actual whole image itself. And that's the kids will be able to find the one thing that they're interested in from that general image, and then they will then have the materials to dive deep on the things that they are interested in on the daily. That is a pleasant part about living in today's age, is that we are so much closer to accessing information than we have ever really been before. So you are part of the forefront of being able to deliver information to them in ways that they like and aren't bored with. That's the thing that we always thought teaching could get, like, people are too bored and don't want to go to school. But with individuals like yourself, it flips the script. They actually want to go to school and enjoy things like science. And that's, again, why I applaud you for doing what you do. So I just say thank you, Lisa Carlson, for not only coming on the show, but thank you even more for being mentally curious and providing the service of teaching to Virginia Beach schools. And you've done it at other cities too. I'm just glad that you do that. And if you go up to higher places to do it too, just as you said, be nice and learn everything new you can in a day. And I would sign off by saying, I hope you have a fantastic fall season and a great evening. And again, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to new curriculum and grade and learning from the students much and more than I hope they'll learn from me as well. And see some of my learning students with smile faces, and they like visiting my room. So yes, thank you so much for this opportunity and reaching out and letting me share this opportunity and program with other teachers and the public. Thank you.
Again, thank you so much, that I'm able to learn hopefully from your methods as well, and I'll be able to take it on to out of school time programs or become a teacher one day myself, because you're doing good work. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And you can see a teacher too, even if you're not in a school. We can all teach everyone's, even if our day job is not teaching. I mean, even students do that of teaching each other a new language or new things about sports and just
sports. Good.
Learning something new. yeah, just
Right,
learning something every day. So you're teaching me as well. So thank you.
Good. Mutual thanks. I appreciate that. And again, I hope you have not only a great fall, but a great whole year and a great Sunday night.
Thank you. More to do after this. So thank you for your time.
Never stops.
Yes, sir.
Well, good work with that. Catch you next time, Miss Lisa Carlson. All right, guys. You've just watched episode 2 of SchezzWho, the dynamic Conrad Schesventer show about whatever catches my fancy. So remember to like this show. Remember to subscribe to this channel. I want to grow this thing big. No lie, I'd like to be successful in this, and the only way that that's going to happen is as good as an audience like yourself. So like and subscribe to SchezzWho. Stay tuned for episode 3 when we bring in Virginia Beach City Councilman Chris Taylor. That should be later this week, closer to Wednesday around 8 p.m. So stay tuned for Virginia Beach City Councilman Chris Taylor on the next episode of SchezzWho, and I hope you take care.